Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinks and Movies with your hosts, Bearded Comic Bro and John from John's Comics with Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for Drinks and Movies.
Yo! Swap us around here. It is Drinks and Movies Saturday night.
It's feeling good.
We're classing up the joint a little.
You know, it's Oscar night. You gotta look good.
And I have the Dom here. If you want a little top, I can top you off a little bit there.
Right? Top me off.
There you go. A little something. A little bit of the bubbly.
Yes.
I'm not drinking that. But hey, if you're a Champies fan, get some Champies on.
That's right. And if not, grab your champagne flute, pour some white wine into it. No one's going to be none the wiser unless you show them on air.
Unless you tell them. And then, you're ruining it. The magic. The movie magic.
That's what we're going to do. We're ruining the movie magic for people. We're telling people how it's all done today anyway. So.
Oh, man. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to Drinks and Movies. That is the Bearded Comic Bro wearing my face on his chest. I'm John's Comics with Kids, and I'm wearing his face on my chest. We are swagtastic tonight.
Absolutely.
And we are here to talk with you about the movies that are nominated for all the best Oscars this year, because we've watched a ton of movies for y'all, and we will definitely chat them up, give you an idea of what's going on. We're not going to spoil these movies for you if you still want to watch them, right, but maybe we can help you choose a few that you can pick when they pop up on streaming options for you.
Yeah. And a lot of these movies that we will talk about tonight are still available on streaming options. There's only a couple that aren't or have gotten off streaming that we've now, but we can still let you know so that way when they do drop on, if it's worth it or not.
Boom. And this we posted this on my Instagram a while back. And let me get rid of the banner there so people can see. And some of these have changed. I know that Judas and the Black Messiah used to be on HBO Max, but that has changed.
Yeah, because they were doing those 1 month. You got a month to see it. So when we made it, it was right at the tail end. That
right.
And the father and I think it's Minari, the water seller. Those are both available to rent, but it's like that movie theater renting price right now.
Gotcha.
We're like Promising Young Woman is like it's your typical rental of like a $5.
Right.
So
just for those folks looking to check things out, that will help you find a couple of things, and then mostly these movies are going to start rolling out in the coming months here. Let's say hello to some folks in the chat and then get this show under the way here. We got Jennifer tailgating with Mark and Ruben. So thank you to you three hanging. Flashpoint Comics popped in, said hello. Gore Vidal saying, unfortunately, he hasn't seen any of the nominated films. He spent the day, though, watching Pieces of a Woman, The Life Ahead, and Operation Finale. He said they were all very good films.
Yeah. I didn't watch the last two, but I did get to watch Pieces of a Woman, which is nominated for Best Actress.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. We got Missing Link. Hello, Station. Hello to you. We're the Blazer Boys tonight. What are you doing here? Do a little something. I got a little
bearded Blazer bro.
Got some little cuffies there on the side. It's all happening. My dad is here.
Yes.
He is a big movie buff, and he tries to watch all the Best Picture nominees every year. So he is definitely well informed on all this kind of stuff.
Good. I'm expecting you, Ralph, to carry the chat.
Absolutely. Apple juice looks good, right? You could throw some apple juice in a flute.
Listen, that's what we do with the kids, right? Like you gotta we're having fancy drinks, and we give them
sparkling cider, right? At Thanksgiving, the sparkling cider.
Absolutely.
Martinelli's, baby. You're having some white wine tonight. So
I am.
There you go.
Classing it up a little bit, not doing the beer, not doing the bourbon tonight, but
I'm not either. So I'm going with a little cocktail. This is my rum and coke. I'm having it in one of my
Dharma.
Lost Dharma mugs here. This one's the it's hard to see, but this one's the Hydra. The Hydra station. So
yeah. So
cheers to all of you, gang.
So if you're watching, make sure, like we said, we'll give some recommendations, our thoughts on the movies. We're going to try and give some predictions of what we want and what we expect the Academy is going to do tomorrow night.
Because those things don't often agree, right? Most of the time, what you want and what is actually going to win might not necessarily go together.
And so we might talk about some of that too, but, make sure you get yourself something to drink. Tune in.
Yeah.
Welcome to DJ Links.
Well, cheers. So there you go. Enjoy, Lil. DJ Links is in the chat too. Thank you for coming. Yo, how you doing, man? Okay, so I don't even know where to dive in because I want to say this is a very dynamic year of movies. I felt like a ton of very powerful movies. It was almost like the year of ambiguous endings too for me. Like a lot of these movies don't have a standard, I don't want to say Hollywood, but like standard typical ending. And so it's tricky to know where to jump in. There's a ton of powerful themes and ideas being presented this year, and it's hard to know where to start.
Yeah. I would say there isn't a movie on this list that doesn't really lead there's not too many you're gonna walk away feeling happy.
Which is pretty common for the Oscars, but I think election year, COVID, all these things have kind of meant heavier, darker themes. Well, I got you covered on that, DJ Links. Let me share with you an image that I loaded that includes all the Best Picture nominees this year. Here we go. So, these are the nominees for Best Picture. Across the top, we have The Father with Anthony Hopkins. Then we got Judas and the Black Messiah with you might recognize David Kaluuya from Get Out or Black Panther.
Black Panther, yeah.
We got Mank with Gary Oldman. We got Minari with what's his name? Is it Greg from Walking Dead?
No, not Greg.
What's his name from The Walking Dead? I thought it started with a G, but maybe I'm wrong.
It is. It does, but it's not Greg. Oh gosh, I'm blanking.
It's all right. We'll come back to it.
Yep. Someone's going to say it in the chat.
We got Nomadland with Frances McDormand. We got Promising Young Woman with Carey Mulligan. We got Sound of Metal, and I'm going to struggle with, is it Riz?
I think it's Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed. And we've got The Trial of the Chicago 7 with, for me, Sacha Baron Cohen, and I always put Aaron Sorkin above all of that. Yeah. That's just me, because it's definitely an Aaron Sorkin jam. So
all right, someone in the chat, let me know. His name starts with a G. It's not Greg. It's going to drive me insane.
Sorry.
From Walking Dead.
The best character in Walking Dead. Absolutely. Yes, Lakeith Steinfeld is also in Judas and the Black Messiah as well. Lots of great actors, lots of things going on. DJ Link says he's only seen Judas and he thought it was phenomenal. It is a very good movie. We'll definitely get into that. Stephen Yeun, but I can't remember.
I know the actor.
Stephen Yeun, and I can't remember the character he played in Walking Dead, but you might recognize him. Glenn. I knew it was a G.
I knew it was a G too. Chat, you've let me down already. We served you up for a Walking Dead. I wasn't expecting on the Oscars, but at least I was expecting on the Walking Dead.
If they're my chat, they're probably not into Walking Dead as much as the rest of the comic community, because I'm not a Walking Dead fan, but that's just me. There it is. Glenn, Maggie's baby daddy, says Nick Kicks. How you doing, Nick? And hello, station to you, Perry. Listen up. TJ is here, and he said Glenn first. Look at him.
Look at that. About time. I knew TJ would know.
That's what we needed around here.
Yep.
So TJ, Slapdragon, Watson. All right, so do you have a film? So we're gonna go through the Best Picture winners.
Yeah.
Or sorry, nominees.
Yep.
The eight films for Best Picture. Give you our thoughts on them. I will say I did not see one of them, and I think Greg missed two other ones. So at least one of us can talk about every movie.
So we've evened it out. So why don't we start with the one we've seen, both of us, and then we'll put some of the ones that we didn't see next or something, and that way we can kind of even it out. But maybe we'll do like 2 that we've seen.
All right. So I'll start with the one that I'm hearing people trying to predict as the winner.
Okay.
I'm hearing people are saying that Nomadland has a really good shot this year to win.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Frances McDormand fan, so they kind of had me at the jump with just casting her.
Right.
But when it comes to ambiguous endings, it's possible this one almost takes the cake for me as far as an ending that just really doesn't feel like the movie is even over and it just ends. Hoarders Hide. What is I will say this movie is beautiful. I think this movie is powerful. I just don't feel like there's enough story for me. And in the end, I just felt like it petered out into nothing.
Yeah. I think this is one where it's this, and I feel like you have that with a lot of the Oscar movies. You're going to have it where the story's great, or the story in and of itself is standalone, or it's going to hinge on, there's a lot of movies that get nominated, I feel like, that the actor or actress kill it in it.
Right.
And because of that, they elevate the film to a higher level than it really probably would be anyways. So yeah, this is one that a lot of people are predicting that is the one that's going to win it.
Because it is up for a ton of awards.
Yep.
Obviously, Frances McDormand, but directing, writing, picture. I mean,
Yep.
It's up for all the big awards. And I think, my dad is mentioning they did have a lot of actors who were actual Nomadland people, not actual performers in it.
And what's
TJ, the one community member without a trading card.
Yeah. And what's really cool too is the director, she also is up for, she did the screenplay, she did the editing.
Yes.
And this is the first time that an Asian woman has been nominated for Best Director.
Right.
So like she's kind of up for 3 awards alone.
Right.
Because then, you have the leading actress, so Frances, and she's won with Fargo. She's won with a couple years ago, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which if you haven't seen
that's a powerful movie.
It's a powerful movie, and her performance in it, like, I'm like, yup, she deserves it.
It's one of I think her best for me. And I remember seeing her in Blood Simple and like saying, this lady can act. And then it's like, since then it's just been, she's gotten better and better.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, she's always the mom and Almost Famous, but like everything else is also really good.
And she was nominated for that one too.
I think she was supporting actress. Yeah. That's for me, that's her peak. But I mean, I'm sentimental for that movie.
So, I mean, the basic concept of this movie is that she is single now, and she's trying to just make a living. And the town that she grew up in, that they lived their life in, basically was a factory town that shut down. And now she basically decides she's going to be a nomad and do the, living in the vans in the nomad communities. And it's interesting to see that, like you said, I think your dad said in the chat, like they brought a lot of those actors and actresses who were in like real people that were doing this. And I think you can kind of tell at some points, you're like, this is a document. Cause like you're putting them up against her, even the guy that they kind of have a relationship with, he was in Good Night, Good Luck with George Clooney.
That's Bad Luck.
What's his name?
David Strathairn?
Yes. Yep. Like you're up against.
I love David Strathairn is also top notch.
You're up against 2 powerhouse actors.
What's up, Kevin? Yeah. So I agree that there is a little uneven, but I also think there's an element of realism that they clearly add having those performers in this movie. So overall for me, this one was not one of the better films. I would still give it, a pretty good score. I'd probably give it an 8.
Okay.
But it was not it didn't leave a big impact on me. And I was very frustrated with the ending when I felt like there was not enough story to hang on this movie.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be the
theme.
The theme throughout the night.
All right. You ready to move on already?
Let's go for it.
We're good. Okay. Oh man. Okay. So I'm looking at these.
What your dad just said in the chat.
Sorry. They have taken some heat for glamorizing the Amazon work experience, which, I mean, I didn't feel that really happened. I felt like I was actually wondering, like, why would Amazon let them film there? Because it looks depressing as hell to me. But that's just my look at it.
Well, I guess in the film, I would see where they maybe glamorized it, because the film was literally, it seemed like her happiest moments were when she was hanging out with her friends in the break room there, because
maybe, yeah.
And she's like, I'll go back to this. This is so.
Well, let's pick another one that both of us have seen.
Okay. Yeah.
This one surprised me because it was from one of my favorite filmmakers. I am a big David Fincher fan. I love his movies. I think his style is completely original. I was surprised at how bored I was in this movie. I love, like, I'm a cinephile. Like, I love cinema history, and obviously Gary Oldman is a top tier actor.
Yeah.
But I dozed off twice in this movie. Sorry.
So, fun fact, gang, this is one you can watch on Netflix. However, though, after John's glowing review, and out of the movies I watched, this is the bottom of my list.
I'm glad I wasn't, like, burning your favorite or anything.
So I struggled with this one. It was one of those, I liked the idea of, I liked the story. I didn't like the execution.
Absolutely.
The story is such a good story, and there was so much there, but it just felt like, and it's shocking because, like you said, who directed this and who they have in this? Like, I'm like, and I think maybe that's why it fell lower on it on my list, because it would made me so mad that I should have liked it so much more than I did.
And for me, it was like the hilarity or the irony in the fact that they made a movie about a screenwriter, and the worst part about the movie was the screenplay. Like, so the acting is incredible. The cinematography, I really dug the way they made it look like an old movie, and they even had the cigarette burns at the real transitions. And I love the black and white style they did for stuff. I love the discussion of the Hollywood blacklist and the concepts of communists in Hollywood and all the, like, McCarthy era stuff they were dealing with. Everything about this should have worked, but the screenwriting was so poor that it was boring and it was way too long.
Yeah. And it's funny, they literally, this is the most nominated movie on the list with
my
10.
Dad. Watch Citizen Kane. You don't need to know how it was made. Just watch Citizen Kane.
And out of all the awards that they were nominated for, they did not win one for screenplay. Or not win one, but they weren't nominated for a screenplay. They were nominated for every other award.
They didn't get nominated for screenplay. That's hilarious. Alex says maybe that is glamorizing it, showing it like fair and that you might enjoy your work break is glamorizing the life of Amazon workers. That's funny.
Like, it's not that bad. I feel like it's a scene from The Office where
I don't think that's a hot take by modern standards. I think most people would find Citizen Kane boring. I don't, but I studied enough that I felt like what I really got out of Citizen Kane was the idea that they were really inventing the modern movie. And any movie that's used flashback since then, or an unreliable narrator since then, or, there's so many photographic cinematography elements that they invented for that movie that it was groundbreaking on so many levels that I can give it its due and respect it for what it is. But not this.
No,
this is not. This is not a good movie.
And it's frustrating because there's so many storyline and elements that it should make an intriguing movie. Like, it should be captive. And what's ironic is I feel like this is a movie that is geared towards you and me even more so, with like the more like behind the scenes of filmmaking, a little bit more like in depth of like the process and the politics of it and things like that. And there's so much there, but it just didn't connect.
It never rises to the level that you want it to. So disappointing is what is the key word I would use for this movie. And I'd probably give it a 6.5, maybe.
Yeah,
if I'm on a good day.
Gary Oldman's great in it.
He is so good. He's great in everything.
He really is. But Yeah.
Not in this. No, let's skip this movie.
Next.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about another one that we both saw, which is Promising Young Woman. Carey Mulligan in this. I don't know. It's almost like a modern Fatal Attraction. Like I feel like this movie updates some of the themes from Fatal Attraction in some ways for me.
Yeah.
And Carey Mulligan. For those who haven't seen her, like if you've seen her in anything, I feel like you've never seen her, because every time I see her, she's totally different in something with a new accent and a new look. And she is mind-blowingly good in this.
Fantastic.
She steals this movie top to bottom. It's her movie, and everybody else is just hanging around the side.
Yeah. This is one of those, like, main
Well, like Gary Goatman.
I feel like now we're getting to a little bit more of where, like, I don't want to say like Nomadland and like Mank were like, oh, like they're happy films, but like they're not like as much of heavy topics.
They're peppy.
Yeah, this is getting into more of heavy issues and like holy buckets, powerful stories. And like you said, I like the idea that you said of this kind of Fatal Attraction. This has a really good cast. I want to say like a stellar cast, because it's a lot of like people, like you're watching this movie and it's not like people who are nominated for awards, but you're like,
no,
I recognize this one. Oh,
there's a bunch of great like comedy actors or
Yes.
comedians
Yes.
in pivotal roles. I'm a big Bo Burnham fan. I thought it was hilarious that he got this great part in this. I love Bo Burnham's stand. If you have never seen Bo Burnham on his Netflix specials, just like, I mean, honestly, just stop watching the show and go do that. Like, because I've watched them all probably 4 or 5 times. They're so good. They're immaculate.
And Bo really does a good job in this.
He's perfect. I mean, I loved him in what was the Helen Hunt movie about the stand-up comedian where her daughter falls in love with the stand-up comedian, and then she goes into a coma, and the stand-up comedian, oh god, he's in the Eternals next coming out later this year.
The Big Sick.
Yeah, the Big Sick. Sorry, I know I call it the Helen Hunt movie, because that's where my head went. But he's in that too. He plays a stand-up comedian in that too, and I've liked him both times.
Isn't he also the dad in the movie 8th Grade,
which he directed?
Yeah,
he directed 8th Grade. Yeah.
So which is another.
This is a phenomenal poster. I fully agree.
Powerful movie too. If you haven't seen it, that's a tough one too. I mean, the scene, and I'm not giving anything away. The scene where
I love that movie.
Carey Mulligan and Bo Burnham are in the pharmacy.
Very funny.
Like, it just is
his classic dancing, and it's all good.
And I think that's what this movie does. It takes a very dark storyline of, this woman trying to basically seek revenge on people who prey on women at bars who have been, drunk and, can't seem like, and is trying to, hey,
at least in some way return the favor to these awful men, these predator men. And she's got her little journal, and you can see that something has scarred her and put her on this path. And so the movie is really about like peeling back the layers on her to understand why she's doing what she's doing. And you see her several different times with several different men kind of acting out these things and building towards her masterpiece, basically.
Yeah. And I think the interesting move is they literally brought comedic actors in, I feel like, to almost soften the storyline of, I mean, you've got the guy who plays Fogel and Superbad and New Girl, and
when you have McLovin in your movie, like, that you're not taking it so seriously. And I think that they respect the topic, but they're also trying to say, like, if we put De Niro and stuff in this movie, you would be depressed the whole time, because it's a depressing, heavy topic, which is, date rape, basically, is the topic. I will say, so in getting into the review section for me, I was very frustrated by this movie when I got to the end for several reasons. I felt like the ending doesn't fit. I feel like the ending doesn't fit this movie because it feels like it veered off into a nice, neat little bow that doesn't fit the movie for me. And for me, it was just a little too tidy. Second, and I'm usually not in this group. I'm usually the person who hears people saying like, oh, this movie just hates all men. Like, oh, poor white men. Like, I got frustrated watching this because there are no redeemable men in this. Every man is presented as scum in this movie. Men are horrible. And it doesn't reflect at least the world as I know it. I know a plenty of great men who are not the men presented here. And it's like the whole movie is like there's no redeemable men. Even her dad, who gets like 2 scenes, I feel like if they expanded the lens of the movie, we'd reveal that like he was like this in college and he's just grown out of it or whatever. Like, I feel like everyone is designed to be like, women better watch out and flip the tables on these guys before they get you, because that's the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
And that was, after a while, just depressing to watch. And I understand the purpose, obviously, to present this female's story and her journey that she's going through. But I also know that the men who you would want to watch this and learn something from it will never watch this movie. They will never, like the horrible, toxic, masculine men will never view this movie. So they're going to miss the message. So the message must really be going to women who I feel like already know this message for the most part in our era. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. Like you said, there wasn't a single redeemable male character in this movie. I wonder if the purpose of that was to really put the focus in on Carey Mulligan's story and arc here.
Totally.
And
I totally agree.
And so I get that aspect. I actually did not mind the ending either, like the Tidy Night Spo, because I felt like something I missed in so many of the other movies of like,
you wanted an ending and you got
I wanted an ending and I got an ending. Like, because
I remember
the way
maybe
that
I watched this one too early in my viewing, and I wasn't.
I think it was one of those. I watched it as I was watching the ending. I was going, and then I'm like, okay, like I was happy with how they tied it up, because I felt like it wouldn't have made sense to the story the way you go of where there are no redeemable characters. That like it's interesting. So
yeah. Yes, it would be a dark comedy akin to something like Heathers, for sure. I would definitely agree with that, Gore. He also says, this discussions make me think of Diane Keaton and Looking for Mr. Goodbar, a wonderfully somber film. And there are definitely moments of levity, and Bo Burnham. Even his stand-up borders on awkward, uncomfortable, confessional kind of stuff. And this seems to very much fit with his vibe. And he has a major part in this. I'd say he's probably the second lead in the movie, if you wanted to say, like he's the second most prominent character. But I will say the look of this movie and Carey Mulligan saved it for me. The elements that frustrated me did not ruin the movie. And again, I would put it in that Nomadland range for me, somewhere in that 8.5. I just couldn't love it because it felt like it was just shooting bullets at me the whole movie. I was just like, okay, where's like a guy that's like, at least like you can see like there are good men out there. She's just purposefully hunting the bad ones. So she's spending time, like she's going to these clubs that I would never go to. So there's an example.
Well, I mean, that's
the men that she's, the men that she's hunting, this is their hunting grounds. And, but at the same time, when she's outside of that world, she's never around any redeemable men. Like, I just feel like the whole world that she exists in is telling us, the audience, men are horrible.
Yeah. And I will say, I think the smart move on their part in directing of, because there is the elements of like the Me Too movement, and there are elements of very thematically in this of like not believing people. It's not just like all the men in the movie don't believe. it's across the board.
Yeah, nobody believes
nobody
the women going through these things.
You know, like, so, and without giving anything away, like, but to have the dean being a female, I think that that takes away some of those concerns.
It was a great story decision. That yes, if the dean had been a man, I probably would have just been livid with this movie.
Correct. Because then it would have been, I think, and so that's where I think of, like, they're trying to almost, because if you really watch this movie, there aren't really any redeemable characters in the whole movie. It's like
so then maybe my frustration should be backed off a little bit. The point might be that there are no redeemable people.
Yeah, like
the generation, it's more a comment on all as opposed to one group.
Even as great as Carrie is, I wouldn't say she's a redeemable.
She's
character.
Not. No,
and
not.
I mean, maybe the most redeemable character is her sarcastic friend at the coffee shop, and I don't even know, like
the lady that owns the coffee shop.
Like
maybe
the most redeemable, but everyone else in the movie isn't. Like, her parents aren't, mom or dad. No one in the movie is. So I think that might be part of it too.
That's a great point that I hadn't considered. So that puts this in a better light, and honestly makes me like it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So how would you score this one? Where were you feeling?
This is up to the top of my list of movies.
We just ran the gambit there.
We did. So because I thought it was well done throughout everything that we talked about. Again, it's not an easy topic, and
sure,
it's not stuff that you're like, ooh, I like, but this is one that I was like, I think though could also bridge the gap with Academy movies, where it's sometimes of like, there are movies that like I watched, like my wife came down and said, like, I remember when you used to watch Academy movies with me. I'm like, you wouldn't have enjoyed any of these, like, you know,
but
like
this one.
She would have watched this one.
My wife liked this one a ton,
and she would have enjoyed the movie, not because of the story, but because of the topic, but because of how it's executed. I think it's executed in a way that it's not done in a Oscar style movie. No. It's done in a major motion picture movie that there's pacing, there's jokes, like you said, levity. That I think this makes this more of a type of movie that the Oscar like puts in there, but won't vote. And like, if it wins, because you're like, oh.
I would say even like this is a movie that probably in a non-COVID year wouldn't have been nominated. Like this movie definitely feels like a rarity within the spectrum of movies that get nominated for Oscars. Also not a date movie. Do not expect to get like with your significant other after watching this. This is a block night when you watch this.
Yeah, and I think that too is you have this reminds me of elements of like though it could, because of like, and I don't want to get into like predicting movies and stuff, but like a Parasite, where it's like it doesn't feel like a normal Oscar Best Picture movie.
It does not, yeah.
And so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, now we've got 3 in a row here. I think we should try to knock out that are the ones that only one of us.
Let's do the next 3 that one of us is.
So I'm going to start off with one that I am the only one that watched, The Father, which I will say is a movie that every once in a while I watch a movie where I can feel like the people who made this knew exactly what they were doing, and every decision was thought out meticulously. And this is that movie. It's basically a movie presenting dementia for us. We have Anthony Hopkins' character sort of slowly being unable to remember what's going on, and sort of the anxiety and emotional roller coaster that presents. His daughter, I will say mainly played by Olivia Colman, is trying to care for him, but is struggling with that burden. I say mainly because the movie often plays with our minds, and we have trouble because we are presented with his existence through his eyes, knowing if what we are seeing is real or imagined. And the premise almost feels like a David Fincher movie, where he feels like he's being robbed. He doesn't recognize, he feels like the person pretending to be his daughter isn't his daughter. And you don't know if he has like some secret safe in his bedroom and somebody's tricking him by playing on his dementia to rob him. It has this fun noir Hitchcock kind of style to it. But at its core, it's really just a man's mental deterioration. Anybody who feels like Anthony Hopkins can't act and has seen Red Dragon or Hannibal or any of the like crappy Silence of the Lambs sequels will watch this and feel like, okay, good, he can still act. Because he is astonishingly good in this movie. And I just, you just can't take your eyes off of him. He is magnetic. And the story, based on a play, is so well planned and thought out and so well put together. The way they photograph things is repeated. The camera height and angles are repeated so that, like, he might be looking at his daughter's apartment door or his own apartment door or a hospital's door. And it's the framing and the pacing and the camera movement is repeated because he might be seeing it as one place, but it might be a different place. And later they may overlap some of that and repeat certain sequences again from a different perspective where he feels like he's stuck in a time loop because of his dementia, but he may not be. And it's not perfectly answered, which I really do enjoy. This one was one of my all-time favorites of the list. This was way near my top of the list because I just felt like everything was so thought out. It was very meticulous. And the actors, Imogen Poots is great. I'm a big Rufus Sewell fan. I think he's really talented. Ever since I saw him in Dark City, I've like, this guy's cool. And he's really got a great part in this. Olivia Williams is in this. It's got a very good cast, and you can see they rehearsed and planned so that when Olivia Williams is pretending to be the daughter or Olivia Colman is the daughter, like you can't tell who's being truthful or honest or what Hopkins is believing or not believing is true. It's layered beautifully.
Yeah. And I'm bummed that this is one that I didn't get to watch.
It is hard for people, for anybody to watch because it's all a shared, I don't want to say nightmare, but worry that we won't be mentally able to enjoy our later years. So definitely true. The screenplay is by Chris Hampton, who wrote Dangerous Liaisons, a great 80s film. Fully agree. And yeah, I could see this as a play because it's really all in one room but like, what is the room that we're in? Which room are we in? Is one of the fun central themes. So I could definitely see this as a low key play with only 5 or 6 actors. Like it really operates well.
I that's good to hear because I always enjoy I've found like I've enjoyed a lot of the Oscar movies that you can tell there's plays that it's a screenwrite to a play. We're going to talk about one later tonight that was a screenwrite. That's a play. And, is now a movie, but Fences, it was the same thing. Like it's all in this contained world and you might not love the story, but that's the beauty of, man, if you get people that can act like Olivia Colman, who won 2 years ago for the favorite, Anthony Hopkins, who we know can act, but like Fences was Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. Like we know they can act that it makes it more like, almost the story can kind of be a subplot sometimes, so you can just be in the witnessing great actors and actresses doing their craft.
Absolutely.
So I like to hear that, like the story, even in of itself, is something that's compelling.
Honestly, it made me want to have a really talented filmmaker like Fincher make a dementia Rear Window. You can just watching this, you could totally imagine the scenario of somebody slowly losing their ability to understand the world around them, thinking they saw something and questioning, did we see it? Like it feels like you could easily build a movie around that. And this movie plays with that concept, but really at its heart, it's about Hopkins and his daughter, and it's kind of beautifully laid out. So let's go to the one that I didn't watch. I'm very curious to hear what you thought of Minari.
Yeah. Minari. So this is so you have a Korean family who the story arc basically is that they've transplanted to, I think Kansas, it might be Oklahoma, rural
Middle
you know,
America.
Middle America. And the idea is Stephen Yen's character, and I'm gonna butcher names and I apologize in this, but Stephen Yen's character is they basically their job out in California was they would check to see like, is this chick a male or a female? And then like they'd put them in different baskets because apparently the male chickens don't taste good, so they just get rid of them and they're not used for anything else because they can't lay eggs. So like they're just, which is a weird storyline that I'd never heard about before. But the idea is this Korean family is moving to this, and his dream is to start a farm and to prove to his kids that he can be successful at something other than just checking out chickens' butts. Like, I mean, like that's basically what he says at one point. And the deal of you're looking at the family dynamics between the husband and wife. They're not happy. She's not happy with the move of being in, rural, the middle of America. She's out of her, doesn't have her, her Korean church that they would go to where they were at. They didn't have any of this. And basically the breaking point for her is she's like, we can stay if my mom can come out and live with us. And their mom is a foul mouth, like, card play, watches WWE wrestling type of grandma. And what's really sweet is the young boy here has a heart murmur, and it's it's trying to deal with a family who's struggling with money because all their money's going to this child's medical expenses.
Gotcha.
And then the grandma's living now in this room with the boy, and to see the dynamic of like, this movie is two relationships. It's the husband's and wife's relationship, and then it's the boy and the grandma's relationship. Now the daughter in it is also great, but she kind of complements every other relationship.
Gotcha.
And it just is this really heartful telling tale of just struggling in life. What is happiness, and what is, is it family? Is it success? Is it proving? And it's a tough, definitely, story. Like, but I will say for me, it falls into the same realm that the other Oscar movies have. The ending just was, it was there. Like it just didn't hit the right notes that I would expected or wanted. I don't think Stephen Yen's did a really good job in this movie. I don't think like he's not going to win a best actor going against who he's going against, in this movie. And that's part of my problem sometimes is I'm watching these movies, I'm watching them and knowing who else I've seen. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like, you're not going to beat these. Like you better step up your game, buddy. Like you're not going to be. The grandma, I think is a different case. I think she's going to be up there in best supporting actress. But it definitely is up there. It's worth watching. It's all in subtitles. So if you are not 80% of the movies in subtitles, when they interact with the rural middle of America people, what's his name is in it and does Will Patton plays a great
he's always a bad guy
supporting actor. He's not a bad guy. He's a loony basically religious nut who helps Steven with his farm. Just like the example, like they're going to church and they're driving by and they see him. He's like, Will Patton's character's carrying a cross on a wheel, like through by farmlands. He's like, this is what I got to do every Sunday. This is my church. Like it's his way of remembering like his faith, which I think is a cool thing for like, it's looked as a very like loony way, but it's like,
it's his, but unique, it's his. Right?
Like he's like, this is like, if this is what my faith is, this is what it goes through. So it just is an interesting idea. it's not one that you're gonna probably like want to rewatch multiple times, but you got to focus in because it's subtitles and you've got to pay attention. And I think that's harder and harder to do in this culture because we're always like, oh, hey.
Absolutely.
So
no, I think it's funny because as our culture has, as a globe, has expanded, interest in watching subtitled films has seemed to gotten less and less, which is hilarious to me because I work at a school that is a multi-language school, and I've always been interested in other languages and speaking other languages. So like I've liked foreign films. It always seemed funny to me that people are like, I don't want to read a movie.
Well, it's funny though, because it is just a mindset too, right? Like
totally.
I was like, I watched this literally. This is the last one I watched. I watched it right before we hopped on basically. And I was like, it's been a long day. I'm going to pop this on. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to play around with, on a game on my phone or check Instagram and see what's going on. And I'm like, as soon as it started to go, oh yeah, I'm not doing any of that. No,
yeah.
I
should have warned you. Yeah. Hoarders says he's seen none of the Best Picture nominees. Well, hopefully we can help you find some to watch. I do want to see United States of Billie Holiday, which we might get around to talking a little later because I know Greg has saw that. Mm-hmm. There you go. So there you go. So should I go to the other one that I saw that you didn't see?
Let's go to that one. So that, because we got two more and we probably need to get to the others too.
So I got to see Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a film that looks at the Black Panthers in the civil rights era, and for me, kind of reminded me a little bit of the Spike Lee film, The Black Klansman from, was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember.
Was that the one with Denzel Washington's son was the lead?
Denzel Washington's son was the main character, yeah.
I love that. That's how I still call him. Like,
it's a great, it's a great movie. I love The Black Klansman a lot more than this, but that's because I think The Black Klansman was probably my favorite movie that I saw that year. This reminded me of that in that it is centered around an unusual sort of FBI informant. In this case, we have a criminal at the beginning of the movie, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who gets arrested and then given the opportunity to get out of his punishment by going undercover with the Black Panthers and feeding them information on what their chapter is doing, the particular chapter where they are. And in a sort of Donnie Brasco kind of way, his simple little task grows bigger and bigger the more he kind of is enfolded in what they're doing. And you see the challenges of the Black Panther Party as they were going along and how they dealt with the constant issues, political, social, and in some cases violent, that they were dealing with at the time. I think these two actors are absolutely amazing in this movie. And it's really just a sparring match between the two of them, the same way Donnie Brasco was a sparring match between Pacino and Johnny Depp. These guys are doing a very similar dance here. I will say I don't think this film is directed as well as Black Klansman or Donnie Brasco because Mike Newell and Spike Lee are top-notch filmmakers. But I do like this movie a ton. I would put it in that 8.5 range because I think it's incredibly topical. I learned a ton that I didn't fully understand about the Black Panther Party and the different stages of their conflict with the civil rights movement and where they fit in with Malcolm and Martin Luther King and how these chapters work together. And the ending was shocking. And I thought it was one of the movies that had a really effective ending and really blew me away.
The one movie I don't see is the one.
Yeah. I mean, I think of all the ones that I watched, it probably had the most effective ending just because it really hit the nail on the head. And of course has, like a lot of films that are historical, has those little like subtitled bits at the end where they tell you who ended up where and what happened in their lives. This movie really does hit those bases well at the end. I think that people should definitely watch it if they have no knowledge of those kind of things. And it really just blew me away. It didn't. Yeah, I agree. Chaos. It didn't just show them. Oops, sorry. I clicked on the wrong thing there. It didn't just show them as heroes. They were revolutionaries. The film definitely portrays them as being on the front lines of the civil rights movement and on violent methods to solve their problem. There are huge gunfights with the police. It raises huge topics about police justice versus legal justice and solving problems with gunfire. So a lot of stuff that I think we're still dealing with today. Right. My dad says great acting with an essential true story. I totally agree with that. Did not say hi to you, Chris, as well as hello, station to you, Travis. Thank you for coming by, man. So I thought it was a really, really effective movie. I'd get, again, 8.5 to 9 range. It would be right in there. Really, really effective. Chaos says he's seen all the Best Picture nominees except for The Father. He liked Minari a lot, but he thinks it's a little overrated.
And then he said Nomadland was so. He basically, this is why I know he's coming into the chat late, because he's like, we could have had Chaos on the show with us, and he would have been saying.
He's basically saying, yeah, everything that we're saying. So there you go. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And now,
but we're trying to keep the show classy, so we didn't invite Chaos on.
I'm saying, it's just all happening. I got the Dom Perignon out, folks. The Dom is here. The Dom is here. TK, how's it going, man? Looks like somebody's channel just ended. That's all I'm going to say. Because people are rolling in here now. So yeah, I would put this near the top of my list. Okay. Of the 8 movies nominated for Best Picture, this would be near the top of my list.
And I'm so mad because I literally didn't watch it on HBO because I was like, I'm gonna wait until it gets, because I knew I was gonna watch it to get ready for the Oscars. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait to watch it so it's a little fresher in my mind. And I forgot that that HBO was like, oh, you only get a month to watch this, sucker. I'm like, dang it.
So there you go. Sorry about that.
It happens,
but something to look forward to.
Yeah, I will. I will definitely be watching that. So
that takes care of the movies that one of us only saw. That leaves the last 2 Best Picture nominees that we both saw, and I'm gonna go with.
And you can watch them too because they're both available at home on digital.
They are, and from Amazon, we've got Sound of Metal.
Ooh.
Which I watched with my wife last night, and wow, that guy can act.
He can absolutely act.
He is phenomenal in this movie. If you haven't heard of it, basic concept is he is a drummer, heavy metal drummer, and due to whether they don't really get into whether it's genetic, biologic, or whether it's just repetitious based on the drummings that he's been doing for so long, his hearing dramatically takes a turn at the beginning of this movie, to the point where he's basically lost his ability to hear, period. And we're watching how he transitions his life and the impact that losing this ability has on every portion of his existence.
Yeah, it is one of those of, wow, this guy can act. I'm not familiar with a lot of his stuff, but someone actually said to me when I posted, like, "Oh, we're doing this," they're like, "All right." When I posted, I just watched Sound of Metal. They're like, "Oh, I would love to see him as like a Nightwing in the new Batman movie." I was like, interesting. But the idea again too, right? Like your whole livelihood is around music and being able to hear, and even how he gets by at parts by like being able to sight, and that's how talented of a musician that he is, that he can,
right.
It might not be perfect, but he can survive for a little bit doing it like that way. But then you start to see the dynamics, because it's, I think, Paul Reese.
Are you talking about the gentleman at the
who's up for best supporting actor? Paul Raci, RACI. Start to deal with, he is he is heavily into the deaf community and trying to deal with what it is and try to look at the stigma that being deaf isn't a,
it's not something to fix.
Yeah, it's not something to fix. It is what it is, that you can survive through it, that it's part of, and where Riz Ahmed's character is like, no, like I have to have my hearing because this is everything. And like the power of the conversations that they have, which are through through tech and through stuff. And I'm pretty sure when I was doing research that Paul is actually a member of the deaf community and is very integrated into that and has, done stuff with that. Like, just as some powerful conversations of like, your disability is not to be looked at as something that needs to be fixed. It's not almost is like,
he basically says, you're here. If you want us to be here, we're here to fix this, not this.
Right.
We're not going to fix the hearing problem. It's because it's not to be fixed. We're going to fix your mental state. And watching the movie, you're watching somebody with an incredibly fragile mental state, even before the problem emerges, because we get just enough of his life before that.
Right.
And we can see that this is somebody recovering from trauma, drug abuse, emotional, physical abuse, all of these things that he and his girlfriend are dealing with. And this new physical challenge simply brings that to light. And I think that it's wonderful that supporting actor is getting so much recognition, because he highlights the central premise of the story, which is, we're not trying to fix this. We're trying to fix, everyone in life is trying to fix this,
right? The
mental state where you are.
And I think that's a deeper line issue of the movie, right? Is it's trying to take, I think, us as people who are like, aren't dealing with these issues and saying, no, we need to fix this. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily, your way of thinking needs to be fixed. It's not so much what they're going through. And so it just is an interesting concept as someone who has never had to deal with that. So, the Night Of series, that was an HBO.
He's been on a bunch of things. My dad's throwing out Night Of, which I haven't seen.
I haven't either, and I want to, because what's his face is in that too, right? The main guy is
it's John Turturro.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, I know. I remember. So I first heard of him. This actor Riz Ahmed. I heard of him when I saw Jason Bourne, the film Jason Bourne. He has a small part in that, and then of course Rogue One. Yeah, he has a pretty big part in that. I never saw him in Venom, which our comic friends will have seen that actor. He's in Venom. But I haven't seen that movie yet because it looks like trash to me. So sorry.
You're not completely wrong, but he's the main villain in Venom.
In this, he acts the daylight out of this movie. Yeah. Does it suffer from the theme of ambiguous endings? Yeah, I feel like it does.
It does.
And it really frustrated me because I got to the end and I was like, okay, I don't need his path to go one way or another, but I wanted to feel like it had some meaning, and it kind of just clunkered to an ending.
This definitely felt, again, we talk about the Oscar movies, and I think, Gore highlighted in the chat, like, it sounds like our issue is the ending. This is one of those where, like, I usually have an idea of like how long was left in the movie. And as it was like, I feel like I was looking at my phone or something briefly, and I look up, I'm like, wait, what? It's over? Like, that's how they ended it? Like, that was it? Like, I was like, and like, so I did the whole like rewind of like, no, I had to miss something. I'm like,
right.
I'm like, no, that's how they're ending. I'm like, oh, like, and it just kind of was like, everything that the movie was building towards, it just kind of let it out for me of like,
that's a bummer. Yeah, and that moment definitely dragged the movie down a little bit. I was happy to see Matthew Amalric, the French actor from Quantum of Solace, Munich, and The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which is an amazing movie, as his the guy running the hearing is fantastic. Yes, we were talking about him, Paul, and I can't remember,
Ricey, R-I-C-I or something.
But he had a great part, Matthew Amalric, as the father of his girlfriend in the sequence in Paris. But I just wanted more. I just wanted something concrete. Yeah. I didn't necessarily need it to be a happy ending. And I think that I want to make that point. Like, there's a difference between downer endings and ambiguous endings, right? Like Chinatown is one of my favorite movies, and it has a downer ending, but it is not ambiguous. That movie has a definitive ending that is pretty clear how everything works out. But ambiguous is more like you're not sure and things are left to your interpretation.
Yeah.
So an example of an effective ambiguous ending would be the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, those great films with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. They don't necessarily tell you how things work out. They give you this one moment and then they move on. And it's ambiguous, but it works for me. And I think my issue is some of these films have an ambiguous ending that doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think that's a clear point. Like, we're not
I'm happy to take shots fired at Seinfeld and Soprano for having ambiguous endings that for me don't work, but I'm not the big Sopranos Seinfeld fan. So I'm not going to champion any of these. I never got far enough in Sopranos to be a Soprano fan.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference, like you said, of just kind of like an ending that just felt flat, and then there are multiple movies I can name. I'm like, that ending, I'm like, but because of how it ended, I'm like, it made it better. Like, it wasn't a happy ending,
right?
I'm like, it made the movie better because of that.
And I know movies that can do an ambiguous ending effectively. It's not often, and it's challenging. And so for me, it's not a matter of a happy ending because that's not what I'm going for. I just wanted something that is definitive and that follows the structure or the story of the movie. I'm a big story structure guy. It means a lot to me when I can see the little threads that a filmmaker put into something. And when I watched The Father, I told you that it felt like somebody had really meticulously thought out all the little strands. And as a result, I felt like, wow, I could see how that ending, even though it's not sharp, that ending fit. You know what I mean? And this one, I just felt like it was missing something. And you don't want to end the movie feeling like you're missing something.
Yeah. It's interesting because it seems like the ones that have the best endings are the ones with, like you said, Judas has a true story. Because they can't put an ambiguous ending on something.
There's
an ending. We know what happens.
We know what happens.
Where it goes. So
absolutely. All right, we got one more, and it is a true story,
which leads us to a not ambiguous ending.
Non-ambiguous ending, and I will say I kind of saved this one to last on purpose because I am an Aaron Sorkin fiend. I truly enjoy. I've watched everything he's produced. I even watched Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. I watched the entire show. I never missed an episode.
The DVD I still like it. It's
Newsroom. I've watched the whole thing.
That show's problem was it came out the same year that 30 Rock came out, and people like that style. But man, I like the Sunset. I have it. I'm gonna rewatch
that Sunset Strip. I think it's a Christmas episode. Is still a phenomenal piece of writing.
Sports Night.
No, I got my here. I got it right here, baby. I got my Sports Night right here, baby. What are you talking about?
All day. If y'all haven't, I know we're talking Oscar movies, and I don't even know how many are watching. But gang, watch Sports Night if you haven't.
So good,
so good,
so great. So yeah, I was predisposed to probably enjoy this. Now that doesn't mean I've loved everything Sorkin did. He did that movie about the gambler with Kevin Costner as the dad, and I was like, Jessica Chastain was the main character, and I think it was called somebody's Molly's Game. Molly's Game.
Yeah.
And it was a true story about her celebrity gambling ring in LA. That apparently Tobey Maguire and Matt Damon were big into. So I'm not addicted to everything he does. Ted is on. It's drawing my attention away. I totally understand. Hoarders, I love you, brother. Ted is hilarious. You do you, brother. I was appreciative of your time spent with us. So for me, I was predisposed to like this movie, and then you throw in this cast, right? I'm a Jogo guy all day. Give me Jogo all day.
Can we just talk though about how this is the most 2020 movie of all 2020 movies? Right. You look at this freaking cast: Eddie Raymond, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Jeremy Strong, who plays what gorgeous ass William Kunstler. who's the actor that plays him? I forget. Anyways, like Mark Strong, right?
Is it a Keaton in this one?
Keaton's in it. So, like all these actors. And who is the lone person that gets nominated for his role in this?
Right.
Freaking Borat himself. Like the most 20.
Right.
But we'll get to that too. But it is a who's who of no, not Mark Strong. The guy, the William Kunstler is the guy who was
Frank Langella, John Carroll, Lynch, Eddie Redmayne, Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance. He was in Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks a while back. That was it.
For me, so I was working at a film festival when a friend of mine went to Sundance and saw the documentary that this movie's based on.
Okay.
And she came back from Sundance saying, there are all these great movies, but this movie about the Chicago 7 is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Well, Aaron Sorkin bought it. He bought that documentary at Sundance so that he could make this movie version. And he'd been shopping his script for quite a while afterwards. So when this came out, I was very excited that it would straight to Netflix. I saw this movie right after it premiered on Netflix, and it's phenomenal. Like I freaking love this movie. I think this movie is clever, powerful, supremely relevant, whether you're conversations about protesting, how to protest, what is the difference between a riot and a protest, and how do you feel about riots versus protests? African Americans, the way they treat this one suspect because he's black versus all the other suspects. The hilarity of justice going on here is ridiculous. Frank Langella as the sort of villainous judge is perfection. And it's a travesty of justice, the way he is putting this mockery of a trial on. The whole thing is powerful.
Yeah.
And of course, when you throw somebody like Sacha Baron Cohen in this phenomenal role where he's almost like not big enough to play this part, because it is so outlandish, he adds the right layer of hilarity to this. He plays Abby Hoffman, and he is perfect. It's just a great. So yes, this is my favorite of probably all of them. 9.5, probably right there, and could go down as one of Sorkin's best movies.
And the guy who portrayed the older gentleman, balding guy, who was also one of the protesters, he was in Memento. He's one of those like character actors. I don't know his name, but he did a great job too.
I'm sorry, I'm looking through the list trying to see who's in Memento.
He plays Lenny, or what? He plays the character that does the flashbacks in Memento.
He's in this? I don't even see his name on the cast list here. Sorry.
Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm misrepresenting
him in here. Yeah.
But
what a great cast doing. I mean, supporting actors all really doing wonderful work here because they're doing it in service of a really powerful idea. Hey, and it's my dad's favorite on the list too. So boom, my dad and I have a lot of similarities in our movie loves, probably because he planted a lot of the seeds of what I like in movies. So there you go. But yeah, this one was probably my personal favorite.
John Carroll Lynch.
Oh yeah, he was in Fargo, and
he was in The Founder
Zodiac.
with Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
he played one of the brothers.
He's the bad guy in Zodiac. That scares the crap out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry. He wasn't in Memento. That was Sammy. It was a different.
Oh, Stephen Tobolowsky.
Yep. I confused him, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a beautifully done movie. I think Aaron Sorkin, as a director, for the first time in my opinion, has shown that he knows how to direct. Because I did not care for Molly's Game. It felt overindulgent and uninteresting. And this movie is powerful, clever, and layers in the drama really well. Very effective.
Gang, this is all right. You ready for the hot take of the night, gang? It's not happening. This is where the part of the show, like, I feel like Oscar movies, like John and I are on the same page. This is my favorite of the Oscar movies. I assumed he was. I assumed he was going to save this as the end because
It's because we prepped for this, Ryan. This is the only show I prep for. You know, all my other shows, I do no work. But when I'm hanging with Bearded, I actually watch the movies.
Well, he has to because he knows I will.
I don't know if this is Oscar or Chris, but if you guys did not see my new episode of Comic Community News, Chris was phenomenal. He made his appearance sharing an awesome new indie that I had never seen before. So shout out to the Lost in Comics crew.
They just hit 1,000 last week.
They did.
Which is big ups to them.
Definitely. So yeah, did I say hi to you, Ryan, new guy Ryan? There you are, buddy.
Yeah, this is I mean, that's also what we do, Ryan. You literally commented on my video last night, like, how do you remember random things? I remember a lot of random weird things.
When it comes to movies, that's kind of where my brain works most effectively. Comics are second to my movie knowledge.
And this is why John and I have a drinks and movie show, because it's the same. When I got out of comics, movies never left, and they've always been there. So,
well, then cool. So then we're in agreement. If we could pick, this is the one we would pick.
This is the one I would pick.
Boom.
I will say though, the dark horse though for me is I think Promising Young Woman might be a dark horse still.
As far as your personal pick, you might pick. So you want to put up the whole list here?
So
we can peek ourselves in.
My personal pick is Chicago, Trial of Chicago 7.
Okay.
My next pick, my pick that I think is gonna win, I feel like it's gonna be Nomadland.
If I was gonna pick who I think would actually win, it's Nomadland.
I think Trial of Chicago 7 should win, but it almost feels too blockbustery,
right,
which is weird to say about a movie that was released to Netflix, but
right.
That I think it's gonna be too blockbustery. I do think Promising Young Woman, if Parasite hadn't just won, I think there has to be like a year
in between
where they do like outside the box, and so
okay.
But that's
Let me drop this down.
we're on the same page.
Go back to space. God, I felt so claustrophobic there for a second. You got to lean way over.
My neck hurts now. No, just
boom. There it is, Chris. Good to see you, man. So then if you're in a pool and you're trying to vote, not a swimming pool, but like a voting pool, trying to win the Oscars, Nomadland is, I think, a lock for picture.
Yep.
But if you're looking for just something good to watch, Chicago 7 over on the Netflix is the way to go. If you haven't seen it yet, I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, I think that's the issue that people have with the Oscar shows, right? Like, and Oscars and their issues of like, I think people will watch Trial of Chicago 7 and watch Nomadland. And again, Frances, she crushes it and act, but like the difference of like Trial of Chicago 7, I could watch again.
Oh yeah,
if my wife wanted to sit down and watch it, I'm like, yeah, you'll enjoy it. Like, I think you'll like there's pacing, it has, and I think that's the issue sometimes with Oscar movies. So when they win, people go, how did that beat this?
Right.
Now, I don't think because
it's funny though, because I would say Chicago 7 is a more traditional Oscar movie from like the 90s and 80s versus Nomadland seems a little more unusual a pick.
Yeah, but I think like
But we're in a different era now.
I think we're in a different era where we're in. We're getting more, and you're seeing it with the best actors and the best actresses picks even too. Like, you're getting more characters. Like, no one watched The Favorite. And I'm not knocking it, but 2 years ago, Olivia Colman won it, and she surprised everyone by winning it because no one had watched it.
Right.
I think you're getting.
I still haven't seen The Artist. I mean, I don't know.
The Artist was a little bit more like that, but what was the guy, the dad from Step Brothers? He was in the movie like The Visitor or whatever. He was dealing with
Richard
Jenkins.
There you go. He's a great actor. I love Richard Jenkins.
And he did a great job. But I think if you watch that movie, you're going like he did a great job acting in it. And so I think you're getting that little shift here. You saw that with the movies that people thought would win. You know, you had your La La Land getting beat by, I think it was Moonlight that year.
Yeah.
And Moonlight's a great movie. I'm not knocking it, but to someone who doesn't like Oscar style movies, that's where it's like,
that's the debate on those.
Like that's the debate, and I think that's where they lose it. And it's for people that don't care about just movies in general. Like, I don't want to say in movies, but you know what I'm.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate you saying that. I'm going to break your heart right now by telling you that Michael Fassbender is not in X2, but he's in the other X-Men movies that come after X2. He's in First Class and those other ones later on. He's not in X2. But I do know what you're saying, that he is Magneto, the younger Magneto, in the later films. And he is also in Covenant and Prometheus. Gore says Chicago's heaven may be divisive for baby boomers in the academy. Does anyone know the average age of the academy voter? It's changed pretty dramatically. There was an article in the LA Times that was kind of shocking in California, I want to say 5 years ago, where they showed the average ages of the academy of voters and how white and old they were. And when the Los Angeles Times published that, it was like a shock wave. And immediately the Academy hired a publicity firm. They changed the head of the Academy to somebody of color, and they went out of their way to change things up. So this is kind of what I think Greg and I were hinting at, was we're in a new era of Oscars where some of the old percentages, rules, and sort of guesswork for who would win have changed. Yeah. And movies are winning that might not normally have won 5-10 years ago. I mean, because of that.
And you see that with, Parasite, last year. Well, look at the movies here, right? Sound of Music, Riz Ahmed, I don't know, his nationality as an actor, but
no, you're getting more people of color on in all aspects of awards.
And what was
directing, writing,
3 years ago, or it was 3. I don't know. My time's so messed up with COVID, or the hashtag was the Oscars so white,
because they were nobody of color in the acting category.
And you have that. I think Mank might be the most Caucasian based Oscar movie because it is representative of that era of when Citizen Kane. Right. Then you have, Minardi, you have Judas and the Black Messiah. It's a wider cast, and then the people who are in the best actor categories and best actresses categories, it's a lot more diverse. We mentioned that the show, Chloe is the first ever female
Chinese filmmaker
director. You have an interesting where the shift has, where there's been a shift of what I think Oscar movies get nominated, who gets nominated. I'm not saying there's a bad shift. There's a shift,
but it means that the rules that used to apply to how you might predict a winner doesn't necessarily anymore. And I think I used to be very good at guessing, and over the last 10 years, I've just given up. I'm not good at this anymore, because there's no new statistical skill to guiding your way through this, because the voting pool has evolved in such a significant way. And that's a great thing, but it means that there's a lot more unpredictability.
Yeah. I think there used to be too of it used to be whoever won the Golden Globe for Best Picture wasn't going to win it for Oscar.
Right. And it used to be a thing too, where you could follow the Guild Awards and that would lead you straight to the winner. But when the Academy block changes in a big way and the guilds haven't, there's a disparity that can be tricky. And I do agree, this is an odd year just because of the kinds of movies that we're getting. There's a lot of movies that might not have been nominated even.
Yeah.
And do you want to run through? Sorry, do you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, well, what your dad brought up, my wife was talking to me before. She's like, is next year is going to be just as weird of a category, because at least these movies all came out. They were basically probably done before.
They're already in the can, right? Yeah.
But it was how they distribute them, which is why we were able to do it, because it was mostly Amazon Prime, Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu. They were all digital streaming, so you could do it. She's like, so is that going to change then next year when how many movies are? Is it going to be a smaller pool this, because you're still getting your blockbustery movies, but they don't get nominated anyway. So,
yep. And I will say in general, I feel like since I was in college to now, I feel like filmmaking has changed because of the shift in independent filmmaking. There used to be a huge independent film market, and it has just shrunk. And it's all big blockbuster movies. Everybody has to make their money in the first weekend. And the shift in paradigms are happening on every level. And I think it's affecting everything, including the Oscars.
Not to get too off track, but I did it. My last interview I dropped with David Barn, who is co-publisher of Scout and wrote Stake. He mentioned in it, he was like, I was writing a independent basically film, and he's like, the bare minimum budget to even just pull this off with like my friends, like he's like, I couldn't do it, I couldn't afford to. He's like, so I went to writing scramble, I shifted into writing more rather than trying to. So
for sure. I was going to ask you, do you want to just go through the acting categories real quickly and kind of highlight who we think will win who we would pick, and then we can finish on maybe some movies that weren't nominated for Best Picture but are nominated for other awards that we might want to talk about?
Let's go for it. So
let's start with Best Actress, and we're going to kind of cover ourselves just for a second to show the 5 ladies who are nominated for Best Actress here. We mentioned Carey Mulligan, who's in the nurse's uniform there. We have Viola Davis as Ma Rainey's Big Bottom. It's a movie on Netflix. Black Bottom, sorry. Big Bottom. Sorry.
I mean,
maybe both ways. We got Frances McDormand, who we mentioned for Nomadland. I don't remember the actress from Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday is Andrea Day.
And then the other lady is from Pieces of a Woman.
And that's Vanessa Kirby.
So these are the 5 actresses here. Did you have one that you would pick to win of these 5 ladies?
So this is one that I think Frances is going to win.
Okay.
Because I watched, this is going to be like where you're like, someone doesn't win an MVP of a basketball because they had such a great season the year before, 2 seasons before, or they don't win the Heisman because of that, like that it just doesn't live up to it. So someone else new can come in. She doesn't hit that level that she hit on 3 billboards outside of.
I fully agree.
Ebony. So
yeah.
I think she will win just because she does a great job. However, I would not be disappointed in Carey Mulligan, because she did a great job in this, in Promising Young Woman. But Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman is fantastic. Ooh. And if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's a traumatizing story of Kirby is. She does a fantastic job. So her and the gist of that movie is her and Shia LaBeouf, husband and wife, kind of odd end families. He's not from money. She is from money. That typical story arc, but it just plays out into the first 30 minutes of they have a home birth that goes wrong, and then dealing with the after effects of what that does with relationships, with each other, with other ones. That's where you get the story, the title of Pieces of a Woman, what she's dealing with, what she's processing of, and the pain you feel for the mothers and the father of like, well, why are you acting like this? But the idea of like, as much as it relates to them, you can't even connect because of you don't go through what she went through carrying this. Right. And it is powerful. It's not one that you're going to watch and be like, ooh,
let's turn that on again.
And it's, it can be triggering because I have a lot of friends that have gone through stuff similar to that and what that deals with. But I think that's why then I was so impressed with Vanessa, her role in this. She does fantastic.
Nice.
And like, I feel so much for her and what her portrayal is in it.
And I know that Gore had mentioned earlier he had seen that movie and really enjoyed it. So it's nice that so that's going to be on my list to watch then.
And your dad just said Vanessa was great. So
I will say I'm Carey Mulligan both. I think she'll win and I want her to win. So this is one of those rare categories for me where I am a big Carey Mulligan fan. She's the only reason for me to really have a lot of passion for Promising Young Woman. I think she just really nails it and makes the movie work.
Yep. I'm with you on that. So I will say this is one of the few categories I saw everything else. Viola Davis, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Same thing as it is with Frances.
Ryan mentions that she's not getting enough love for her weight that she gained for doing the role of Ma Rainey.
That's true. I
versus
think
the men who do such a thing.
Yeah, that's tough. So I don't even know, like, from that aspect. I feel like
but Viola Davis is always good. Like,
yep. I think
Solaris. Anyone who hasn't seen Solaris with George Clooney, she's so freaking good. In like 15 minutes of that movie, she's amazing.
It's that it doesn't live up to the standard of what she did before. She did so good that it's tough. And I just, like, as much of a movie buff, I didn't even know about the weight loss, weight gain, and I, even watching it, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And so, I think that probably is getting overlooked. More so because I think it's usually it's more portrayed when it's weight loss, like when Christian Bale did it, not as much like when Russell Crowe put on a lot. Like, I think there's a difference a little bit, but she still did great in this movie.
So that's the best actress category. Best actor looks like this. We've got, of course, the Black Panther himself, Chadwick Boseman, for the same movie, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Sorry. Riz Ahmed, who we mentioned for Sound of Metal. Gary Oldman for Mank. Anthony Hopkins for The Father. And Stephen Yeun for Minari. Did you have a favorite that you would pick personally if you were voting?
So I didn't see The Father. So I can't attest to Anthony Hopkins in this. I think Chadwick wins this. I'd be fine if Riz won it as well. I think it comes down to Riz or Chadwick for me.
Okay.
Gary Oldman I love, but the movie, he couldn't even carry that. And
right.
I know, like I said, watching Steven and Marnie, like, I was like, bro, like, you're doing good, but, like, congrats, you got nominated, but you're going against some top-notch performances. And I think it comes down to Chadwick or Riz. And I don't think
as your pick, you would pick.
I think it's my pick, and I also think it's the Academy pick. My pick those are two I'd be disappointed if neither one of them won, but I'd be okay if one of them won. And I think the Academy is going to pick between those two. So if I have to pick, because I want to just pick one, I'm going to say they're going to pick Chadwick. I think they're going to pick Chadwick in the post.
And I would say that that's my pick for the nomination, for the win of who will actually win is Chadwick. And I will say I'm disappointed. I'm happy to talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as being one of the movies I really was frustrated with. I didn't like it. Didn't care for it. At the end of it, I was like, this movie is crap. I'm never watching this movie again. So I did not care for that. For me, it's between Riz and Anthony Hopkins if I was picking. And for me, there's no loser there either. I think Anthony Hopkins is so phenomenal in The Father. I would probably end up giving him my vote just because he carries. It is a play, obviously, that's based on a play, but he is basically performing that role in this movie. And I was crying in the last 10 minutes of The Father, and just he delivers 2 or 3 lines there that just cracked me, and I was like, okay, like that. That's my guy. Now, Riz Ahmed is amazing as well. And Chadwick is not bad. I'm not saying he's bad in Ma Rainey. I think the story of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is so flawed.
Yep.
I just wanted nothing to do with that movie.
I agree with that. I did not love the movie, so I'm glad that it wasn't a Best Picture nominee. I also, someone else in the chat said Viola Davis didn't have a big part. She should have been Best Supporting. Yep, which I agree.
Pop is killing it tonight.
He's killing it. I'm glad.
You asked him to hold down the chat, and
I told you he would.
He's doing it.
I think what I thought Chadwick, though, does a fantastic job is an actor in this. Because I felt the story had flaws. The ending had its flaws as well. Chadwick, though, when he was speaking, anytime he spoke, I was captivated.
Right.
Because and I don't know if it has, to do that I'm watching it, post his death,
Right.
a year ago, but he's so captivating, and the passion he gets telling the story about like how he's, and this was middle of the movie, his passionate speech that he gave to the other band members about what he went through, of like how he's like, I don't fear the white man. I just know how to handle that. And like, there's those situations. I think he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets a bunch of sympathy votes. I think people were sad and it was a tragic loss, and I think people recognize how great. I mean, if you saw, honestly, he's better than the Jackie Brown movie he made, Get On Up, a year ago or 2 years ago. And I think if he wins it, it's because of the tragedy of what happened and how many roles we are missing out on because he was taken so early.
Well, and you look at it too, of when the situations of what he was going through, of where he he was shooting it, you're watching and go, oh, like he does look like he's sick shooting that movie. And the other movie that he did that came out very similar to that, where you're like, wow. And I think for me, I will say it elevates it a little bit more, because and maybe that's not fair, that you put like when the backstories or what the actor's going through when they deal with that, like Liam Neeson or something, like one of his roles, like where he lost his wife, and then he's going and acting and he's doing that, and it's not fair to say like, well, the backstory, but I'm like, but if I'm going off of an actor and I'm going for the portrayal of what they can do as in this profession that they're in, I'm like, I am even more captivated because I know what they can bring to the table in the midst of what they're going through as a person in real life outside of the realm. And so that's why I think it holds more weight from that standpoint. Again,
it is absolutely the nature of the beast. And I think that's well said. Absolutely. And Chadwick is great in 41, about Jackie Robinson. Great movie. So let's jump to supporting actress, and I'm not as familiar with this group of ladies. So we've got Marla Baklava, who's in the Borat sequel. Glenn Close, who's in Hillbilly Elegy, which I did not see. Olivia Colman from The Father is bottom left there. We've got Amanda Seyfried from Mank, who's upper left. And then we've got Yoo Jung-yoon from Minari, bottom middle. Do you have a favorite from these five ladies?
Yeah. Again, welcome to 2020. The main actress in Borat subsequent movie film is nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah. Sorry for these horrible pictures. This is the graphic I found. Sorry. I'm going to get rid of that. I've only seen 3 of the 5, so I'm way off on this one.
I've seen 3 of the 5 as well, differently from you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say I think the Academy is going to pick, and I think out of the 3 that I've seen, it's got to be Young Yo Jun from Minari. She is the grandmother in this, and her arc is fantastic in it, and I don't love the movie, but good golly, I could watch a movie of her and the grandson's relationship. Give me that. And
and that's what she's winning for.
And that's what she's winning for. I haven't seen Hillbilly, so I haven't seen that, so I can't. It's Glenn Close, so.
Chris, you got to stop leaving and then rejoining, because we're kind of doing it for all of them. We are literally doing that, my man.
Just stick and watch, and if not,
stop drinking. You're drinking too much. Less movies, more drinking.
UFC fight's over.
Yeah,
just
right.
Sit and watch now.
Come on, man. For me, I would pick my favorite is going to be Olivia Colman, because I think she's just phenomenal in The Father.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't seen the Glenn Close film, and I haven't seen Minari, so I haven't seen those two. I would pick Olivia Colman. Look, the entertainment. I got my Entertainment Weekly here. They are picking Marla Baklava as the winner for Borat, which could be a shocking sort of upset. Just something to keep in your mind if you're in a betting pool.
So, John, you're using resources to cheat on your picks.
I'm helping the audience know who will actually win, not just what I want to win. I never choose the films that are vessels for the actors. Sound of Metal was great, but it's more an acting job for me. Hey, I understand what you're saying there, Chris.
I get it, but again, it's hard because it's an actor. Like, you're looking at.
It's a huge part of the whole process of movie making is that acting performance, right? Well, let's look at supporting actor. What do you say? Because here we've got Sacha Baron Cohen is bottom middle for Trial of Chicago 7. We've got Daniel Kaluuya, who is upper left. He is for Judas and the Black Messiah. Also from Judas and the Black Messiah, we have Lakeith Stanfield, who's upper center. Then we've got Leslie Odom Jr. from One Night in Harlem. He is upper right. Also from Hamilton, if you've seen that. And then we have Paul Raci, I think you said, bottom left for Sound of Metal. And this is a rare category. I have seen all 5 of these performances.
Right? This is the one where I didn't see Judas, so I've missed 2.
I would definitely pick Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami as Sam Cooke, and I will take that down because I still don't like those graphics from that company that I picked. But firstly, I have a soft spot for Leslie Odom Jr. because I love Hamilton, and he's amazing. Second, I adore Sam Cooke, and it's always been my favorite singer since I was a kid. And nobody could play Sam Cooke but Leslie Odom Jr., and he is perfect in this movie. And I pick Leslie Odom. If I could vote, I would pick him. People are saying that Daniel Kaluuya from Judas and the Black Messiah might be the winner. So I would say he's more likely to win because nobody is talking about One Night in Miami. But I'm going to tell you that that's my pick for who I would vote for.
So I haven't seen Judas and the Black Messiah. Gang, this is the most non-controversial show John and I have ever done because I agree with him. Leslie Odom Jr. is fantastic. I think he should win it. His portrayal as Sam Cooke. We might as well just talk about some Oscar snubs right here because I think this movie. No, you said no.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I got the poster ready for us. So where is it at here? Boom.
No one's talking about it, but
dude, this movie's amazing.
It's so freaking good. It's on Amazon Prime. It's one of those like I just tell you, go watch it.
Yes.
This is a play we talked about. This is a play that was, and what's really funny is when my sister was out in LA, she worked with the guy who wrote this play. And
because he wrote the script for the movie too, right?
Yeah, and then he also is a co-director or co-writer on Soul. The guy
nice. Okay.
This. So like I had a little bit of affection for it because of my sister's connection with it. But you're literally taking Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. They're in Miami for a night. It's after Muhammad Ali's fights.
And I will say there's an infamous photograph.
Yep.
where you can see these gentlemen, most of them together at a diner. So you know they were together that night. What this play sort of presupposes is that they might have had some very interesting conversations about the directions their lives were going in. Sam Cooke on the sort of end of being just a straight crooner in the Frank Sinatra style, but maybe getting into some more political perspectives on music. Malcolm X, very close to the end of his life.
So
Muhammad Ali. What's that?
Sam Cooke was close to the end of his life too.
Muhammad Ali, very close to becoming Muhammad Ali and ending his life as Cassius Clay. And then Jim Brown transitioning from football to acting. And at that time in their careers when they were all sort of at a pivotal moment. And the play and the film basically present all four of them mostly in a hotel room talking through these decisions. And can I just show some more love for Regina King, who is one of the most amazing, talented people working in Hollywood right now? So for those that don't know Regina King, rewatch Jerry Maguire because she mostly steals every scene she's in Jerry Maguire. Rewatch the Watchmen TV series because she owns that entire television show. She directed this movie and does a phenomenal job with this movie. It is so well paced. The acting is front and center, but the emotions play out beautifully. Just a great, phenomenal concept and really well executed with four actors who have enormous shoes to fill. I mean, these are such iconic individuals that they're playing. But you watch, I don't know the name of the actor who plays Malcolm X, but you watch him move and you hear his
Ben Adar.
You hear his voice. He imitates and yet also represents Malcolm in such a phenomenally accurate way to news footage I've seen, or even to Denzel's amazing performance. He is so good. And then, of course, the actor playing Muhammad Ali is so spot on. And then, of course, I'm still geeking on Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke. I'm not a football guy, so my Jim Brown knowledge is a little less outside of Dirty Dozen. Just really, really top-notch movie.
Yeah, this, like you said, like personalities in this room, holy cow. They are... The fact that Regina King didn't get put up into the best director. The fact that this literally Leslie Odom Jr. is the only person that's nominated. Again, and I'm not knocking him because I'm picking it to like, yes, he should deserve to win. But like you said, these you can get I think you could fall into like being bad imitations of people. I'm watching this and I probably have more knowledge of like Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali than Malcolm X.
It's funny because I'm sort of the other way.
But like I look at it and I'm like, if this guy if they took the Ali movie that Will Smith was in and they had him as Cassius Clay, because he is Cassius Clay to me. Will Smith, and I love Will Smith. I think he's a great actor, but Will Smith is Will Smith impersonating Cassius Clay. This guy embodied Cassius Clay. It was just something about it.
I agree. A lot of plays converted this year. So great comments about Regina King clearly being chatted about earlier. And the fact that I didn't know Regina King made this movie, but I did remember her from I'll Fly Away. My dad was also a huge fan of that Sam Waterston television series. But she's a natural filmmaker. I can't remember the last time I saw an actor make their first directing job look so easy. Amazing. Oh, is that Regina Taylor on I'll Fly Away?
Okay. I don't know.
But like, this is a great movie.
Yeah,
a great movie.
I this would be one. If all of our movies that we're talking about you haven't watched, I'd say Trial of Chicago 7, One Night in Miami, and Promising Young Woman. I'd put those three as like, go watch them. I think
So there you go. I'm right there with you. I'll throw The Father in, and I'll say,
and I want to do The Father, so I need to. So I will.
So we're at the 145 mark. I have a few other images loaded here. Do you want to just blast through them, or do you want to just call it a night?
So we still got, because we did best.
We mentioned a little bit of Pieces of a Woman, which you saw. So do you feel like we kind of covered that one?
I think we did, with her portrayal in that. I think that is another one on Netflix. Go check it out. I think if you watch what I said about her in Best Actress, it does it justice.
We talked a little bit about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I have big problems with the story structure. I think it's really boring and really flat. And outside of those two actors, I just did not care for the movie at all. This was on the low end of my movies. This might have been the bottom one for me.
So
sorry, not a big fan.
I'm fine with that. We have said what I needed to about Chadwick.
Okay. We have briefly hit on Borat's subsequent movie film. I feel like it's not a good follow-up, but however, the lady who is his daughter is very good in this and very entertaining. And what is it? It's not a Sweet 16, but it's the debutante ball sequence is hilariously outrageous.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That is the reason you're not on the show there. That's the reason right there. Ma Rainey is a disaster, and One Night in Miami is phenomenal. So.
This is where I'm like, I don't have to say I hate to agree with Chaos, but I don't have to say that now because I don't agree with you.
That is a shocking hot take right there. Only one on the bearded list I think is up there. So there you go. Hey,
so he didn't like Trial of Chicago 7 either, John.
I don't know. Chicago 7's my pick. So there you go.
Get out of here.
Chris is out of here. Let's see here. You saw Billie Holiday. Did you want to say anything we haven't mentioned yet?
I didn't really care for it. I didn't think it did justice, and I don't think it's going to win anything, and I'm okay with that.
I appreciate you hanging out, Rod. I know how late it is back east, so much love to you, my brother.
Yeah, Rod, I know how late it is back east, so I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Absolutely. We both saw this Danish film, Another Round, a bizarre look at alcoholism and alcohol culture mixed with scientific theory about brain chemistry. And I jokingly said before we went live that I am mad about Mads Mikkelsen. He is great. And I love him. I can't help but still see him as Hannibal Lecter in anything that I see him in.
Yep.
But he's really good in this. This movie is a little all over the map, and I don't quite love it, but I do think it's very interesting.
Yes. And that was one where because I know I told you, I was like, I watched it. It was on Hulu. I was like, watch. It's worth watching because I knew you love Mads. So, and that you had the director got a Best Director.
He was the director of the film, who is, I want to say, connected to the play in some way as a producer or something.
Okay.
Because this is a play as well. So Thomas Vinterberg does a pretty good job of capturing this. I just feel like the story is a little inconsistent for me, and I don't quite connect to it as strong.
It is, and I don't know if it because of being in subtitles too, like it's harder to connect with that. This is another one. If you're watching, gang, and you don't like subtitle movies, you're not going to like this one.
Just keep walking, I guess.
But I think it was interesting to watch. I wasn't disappointed that I watched it.
Yeah, and neither was I. And this is on Amazon, Hulu, Amazon, Hulu. So there you go. And that has a couple of nominations, as we mentioned as well. Yeah. Let's talk about the last two I have are animated movies. We have the two Pixar nominees. We have Soul and we have Onward. And I think we are on the same pace here. And let me just I'll say my side, and I think you'll say your side, but I think this will be a forgotten movie not too long from now. I think it's surprisingly soulless, and I did not care for this movie. And I think this was a shockingly powerful, meaningful Pixar movie that reminded me of how good Pixar can really be. Did I break Bearded?
Gang, I am sorry for putting on such a boring show for you tonight, but I did not enjoy Soul very much. I thought like it played on that it was going to be a deep philosophical movie that just didn't hit the right notes for me. I thought the story was kind of a little all over, but Onward, I rewatched it with my daughters today. And by rewatch it, I told them, "Hey, let's watch this cartoon, gang." They went off into the toy room, and I watched this by myself as they were playing.
Crying in a corner because this movie is so meaningful and clever and tricks you in so many amazing ways with the power of Chris Pratt and Tom Holland.
Yeah, I will say I will agree. To an extent with Chaos. I didn't hate Soul. Let me put that out there. I just think it's when I'm comparing it to Pixar movies, it's going to be lower on the list. I also think Onward will be lower on my list of Pixar movies.
Right.
But I think Onward is far superior to Soul.
I'm not saying that it's top tier Pixar.
No.
I'm saying it reminds me of when Pixar was so consistent that every movie could make me cry and cheer and was perfectly exciting.
My love for Pixar's are like your Inside Out and Coco, like somewhere I'm just sitting there going, "Why am I crying?" I'm like, like.
Well said, Ryan.
I don't either because like that was one I watched by myself, and I'm like, my kids would be deuces. They'd be out like it. It felt like it wasn't a Pixar movie because I feel like it didn't have the balance of where kids would want to watch it. It was literally an animation movie, I think, for adults who like Pixar.
Absolutely.
And my kids would have been like, like they maybe like the Souls a little bit, but I think they would have been lost on them and they would have been out of the room a lot faster than they were out of the room with Onward.
Well, and here's my hot take on Souls. It was done better when they made Coco.
I adore Coco, and I think the story arc of Coco is better. And so, yeah, I'm with you.
Coco does all the same things, and every one of them is better. So if you want to watch Souls, just watch Coco. It's such a better movie.
It's so much better. And the music in there, it's so good.
Every layer is better in Coco, and it's all the same concepts, and it's all the same themes, and it's just done better.
Yeah.
Versus Onward, which feels somewhat more original. And again, I'm a big fan of Tom Holland and Chris Pratt and what they do voice work wise here as brothers. Is really, really well done. Yes.
Un poco loco.
Yeah, so good. That's the animated side. However, despite our feelings, I have a feeling Soul is going to win best animated feature, just because knowing Disney and how they force their people to vote a certain way, and politically, Soul might fit that a little better for where they are right now. I have a feeling Soul wins over Onward, but that's a shocking tragedy because obviously Onward's the better movie.
Right. And we didn't talk about, but I don't really have a dog in the race on the best director because I don't think they picked the best directors for the best director.
Yeah, where's in that list? It's right here. This is the one I got. They got David Fincher for Mank. They got Lee Isaac Chung for Minari. They got Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, who we mentioned. Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. I would probably pick Emerald if it was up to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Chloe or Emerald.
Okay. But I think Chloe Zhao win. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Zhao. I'm sorry. I do not know how to pronounce her name. I'm fairly certain she is actually going to win.
Yep. I would say for directing, I thought what she did with Promising Young Woman did a better job, because I wonder how much because Chloe wrote the script, I think she was screenplay, she was editing,
she guided that movie. Everything you like about Nomadland is in her hands.
So it's up there, but I just think it's when you're doing everything, it takes a little bit of difference of like the best director role. So
absolutely. versus I think Aaron Sorkin would have been my
I'm
person from top to bottom.
Actually, I'm not shocked because I feel like the Academy just doesn't.
They view him as a writer still.
Yeah.
And he has had one movie he directed that was garbage. Yeah.
So he should win.
He's up for adapted screenplay because he adapted the
adapted, not originally. Yeah, adapted.
But I think they view him. He did Molly's Game as a director, and it was a tragedy. That was just not good.
And then I think Social Network was the one that was supposed to be like right.
But Fincher directed that one.
Oh, so he just did the screenplay.
So I think people are feeling like he's only had 2 films he directed. One of them was great, and one of them not. So they're not ready to consider him as a director, same as the others. But maybe I think it's a shame because he did a great job.
Right.
That's pretty much our whole Oscars thing. I wanted to mention, of course, the Bearded Comic Bros channel is linked down below. Subscribe to the Bearded Comic Bro. There's no reason I have more subscribers than him. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, he drops more content more consistently, and it's better. So, like on every level, there's no reason to subscribe to me and not subscribe to Greg. But it's down below, so it's very easy. You click it, subscribe, problem solved.
Yeah, and I'm getting that 600. I'm getting close. I'm inching towards it.
There you go. Hey, my dad's cheering us on. Thanks, Dad.
So,
and thanks for helping me watch some of these because I was challenged to find some of these without your help.
Chaos, hot take. The shorts are worth watching. So
I would say that's true always. And I used to be on a panel that was picking short animated and live action films for film festivals. So I saw a lot of shorts. Always really good.
I need to see them. So
definitely worth the time.
I just haven't.
Chicago 7 isn't loved among critics. That's weird because I've heard great things on every level I've heard, but whatever.
Right.
So do you have anything important coming up, Greg? Or I know you had with your wife trying to trick you with 90s comic strips on Friday. Shame on her. Anything else coming up here in the next week people should know about? No,
I mean, I did my top 50 books in my collection on Wednesday because Alex Comic Quarter kind of was like, hey, you guys should do these. It was fun to do. I got an interview with Stephen Prince, Monster Matador. He's back on my show. He's been there before. I know Ryan interviewed him recently, so props to him. I got some shorts in the idea, some YouTube shorts that I'm working on. And
nice.
I'm going to probably try and reach out to get an episode of Who You Gonna Cast and get some people to do that. Name that character. We got a bunch of game shows. It's just nice. Just come hang out with us and subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. For me, my channel is going to be a little quiet. I'm not on tomorrow. I'm not on Monday. Tuesday, I am hosting Omni X-Men. But before that, at 5:00 my time, 8:00 Eastern, I'm hanging out with this guy because I'm on Lame or Frame with Just a Rican in his comics, where I'm going to be drawing Dungeons and Dragons characters with markers. I haven't been on Lame or Frame. I've been on there twice. Sorry, I haven't been on Lame or Frame for a long time. I'm batting 500 on Lame or Frame. 1 win, 1 loss. And Old Wolf himself has one of my pieces of artwork at his house. Hopefully, much love to you, sir. Hopefully I can prove myself worthy of drawing Dungeons and Dragons characters on Tuesday at 8:00 on Just a Rican's channel. Monday, I'm supposed to be on with Brandon of Comics Kings talking about great deaths in comics. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Jason Todd. Because you voted for him to die. Well, and Gwen Stacy, 2 of my all-time favorite comic book deaths. So that'll be on Monday at Comics Kings. And, of course, tomorrow night I'm on Dungeons and Dragons on Big Will's channel. And I should be on Lame or Frame on Tuesday night. There's a possibility I might not be. So we'll see. My chances of winning will go up if he's not there, but no, it's the chat. I'm legit. No, it's the judge. Yeah, I literally count. I don't judge anything. I like the judge terminology is really loose. Like it really should be the tally counter. Like that's but
So
no,
that's
me and the missus get our second dose on Monday, so depends on how we react of
right. What time on Monday?
3:00. So I'm hoping that no matter what, I should be
24
good.
hours. Yeah, you might be in the thick of it. It's hard to know.
Who knows?
You voted to kill Jason Todd. There you go, Gore.
I knew I
Get
liked
rid of
you,
that
Gore.
guy. So that's my plan for my channel. Of course, please, if you haven't watched my comic community news from Thursday,
so good.
Check it out. I'm having a lot of fun making those, despite the fact that each week the views seem to be doing one of these. Check it out. I think it's a lot of fun. We're having a little giggles, and we had Chris from Lost in Comics on with us this last week, and I got an exciting guest lined up for next week. Somebody that we can all be very excited to have hanging out with us for Comic Community News. We don't know specifically when in May we will be back with more drinks and movies, but we're talking about May, the month of summer blockbusters. So we might be doing some big discussions of huge summer action movies for May as we roll into Memorial Day. So be ready for some of that. And hopefully we'll be back here in a couple of weeks to hang out with you all.
Yeah. We'll talk about movies that you guys like.
That you've seen and that you really love. Right? Hopefully. I don't know.
Who knows?
All right, so that's it for all of us, and we will see you guys then. Bye, gang. Yeah. Cheers, but I'm empty.
I know. I've been refilling.